Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 90th episode of Don't Forget the Popcorn. Today I'm doing a subscriber request. Shout outs to Sherry M. Shepherd Massat for the request. Like I said, guys, let me know if there's a movie you want me to review. Today we are covering 2023's Oscar winning film, American Fiction, directed by Cord Jefferson. Now, I'd already seen this film, but I'm glad Sherry requested it because it is one that I thought about reviewing, but I felt like I may not be the person to touch on some of these themes. But it's forcing me out of my comfort zone, and I think I'm ready. So this movie won Best Adapted Screenplay. Sorry I haven't read the book, but maybe I will. This film stars Jeffrey Wright, Sterling K. Brown, Issa Rae, Erica Alexander, and Tracy Ellis Ross. Now, I know there is a lot of people who haven't seen this still, so I won't spoil it, but I will point out some things that are plot related. This film is about an author who is also a professor at a university. He is forced to take some time off and ends up writing a story that is stereotypical of the Black experience in America, and he hates it. Now, this film deals in a lot of race-related issues, themes of loss, separation, illness, homosexuality, etc. It's a funny movie, but a lot going on beneath the surface, and I think that's where its strength lies. I think it perfectly rides that line of humor and aggravation, keeping you on edge throughout. The thing about this movie is, I personally think the main themes of the film is self-discovery and coping with loss. Every single main character deals with multiple forms of loss in this movie. And when we look at our lead, we think his anger stems from his book, but truly it's from all of the loss he's going through. He loses his sister. This happens early on. It's not really a spoiler. His job, his girlfriend, and his mother is losing her mind. Everyone loses something or someone in this film, and it affects them all differently. We've all known someone who is going through something on a personal level, and it takes it out in an unhealthy manner. This is a classic case of that. A man who hasn't dealt with his demons and his loss stemming back further than we see in the film. Monk, our lead, played beautifully by the Oscar-nominated Jeffrey Wright, is sarcastic, narcissistic, pretentious, and a little privileged. This is what makes him great. He's obviously very intelligent, and therein lies the problem. Smart people have a hard time connecting with others and really stay stuck in their ways and beliefs. This isn't always a bad thing, though, because in my own opinion, I agree with Monk on most of his thoughts on the social commentary in this movie, but I can't fully get on board with him for a few reasons, and I'll explain why as we go on. Monk and his family grew up privileged. He grew up in Boston, maybe one of what some would consider one of the whitest cities in the country. His parents were well-to-do and also have two successful siblings, a surgeon and a doctor. His sister seems to be the rock of the family, holding everything together as it's falling apart, which seems to be taking more of a toll on her than we can see. She's played by Tracy Ellis Ross, who looks stunning in this. She's a doctor and has discovered things about their family that doesn't sit well with her, and she is recently divorced. Monk's brother, played by Sterling K. Brown, is a surgeon and is also recently divorced because his wife caught him in bed with another man. He also was nominated for an Oscar and plays this role to perfection. His character may be suffering the most as we see him acting out, abusing drugs and alcohol, sleeping with multiple men, and seemingly throwing his career away. All this loss is hitting these characters in a hard way, and it's all coming out through their actions. Family isn't always the best, and this movie shows you that. Family dynamics play a big role into your everyday life and other relationships, as we see with Monk's girlfriend, keeping things bottled up to the point of exploding. Monk exploded on everyone. His brother, students, girlfriend, agent, you name them. This is all a mixture of tragedy and triumph. On one hand, he's a published author, professor, and respected man of merits. On the other, he's an angry man dealing with difficult things in his life, and it's causing him to act out an only way he knows how, through his brain. Which brings us to the theme on the surface level of the movie, race. And I mean race in every sense. This movie is racist in a way, but not in your face. In all honesty, the racism here comes from sheer ignorance than from a place of hate. It's all tucked under the blanket. And that's what makes this film a must-watch for a modern social commentary on Black literature and the Black experience in America. I like that it kind of turns woke culture on its head. Like when the white girl gets upset that the N-word is written on the whiteboard in class, even though they were covering Southern literature from the past. The irony is, the teacher who put it there is Black. It's hilarious. Monk is a black man from Boston, privileged, and does not believe in writing his books about his people, which he shouldn't have to, but it's the reason his books don't sell. When a young black writer, played by Issa Rae, writes a book about the black experience that is filled with slang and stereotypes about blacks, Monk gets very upset. It's a bestseller, and white people love it. Monk just can't understand this, as this book demeans his people and keeps them stuck in a box of stereotypes that are negative, and the reason why white people like to observe but never take serious. In all truthfulness, I understand where he's coming from and his frustrations. Black people are all very different. They don't all speak the same or do the same things. They aren't all thugs, speak with slang, do drugs, whatever negative stereotype you want to throw on them, because people of all races do those things here in America. There are many, many stereotypes blacks have carried over the decades, and a lot of blacks have worked hard to shed those stereotypes. But with literature like this being so successful and blacks being put into boxes, it's hard to shed them. I mean, we're talking about a 2023 film about a book written in 2001, and it's still relevant. His books are automatically put into the African American literature sections because he's a black author, even though they have nothing to do with black people at all. This is all tucked in the blanket racism I was speaking of. That would infuriate me. If my book was a sci-fi, I want it with the other sci-fi stories. This film shows the car crash aspect of how whites look into the lives of lower class blacks. They can't look away from the disparity of the lower class black life. This is why these books sell. Well, Monk writes a book himself to prove exactly what I just said, and he does. It brings him great success, but all this does is add fuel to the fire. It deepens the hole of hatred that he can feel burning underneath all surfaces. It puts so many things in a perspective for Monk and does show he's right about it all, except for one big thing he doesn't seem to understand this entire film. This is only right when it comes to him and his situation. He grew up with a family who owned a beach house. This dude has no idea what the lower class black experience is like because he's never lived it. This is why he gets upset when Issa Rae's character calls his book pandering, but doesn't feel that way about her own book. Her book is comprised of real interviews and extensive research, where Monk's is all from his mind. Complete fiction. Monk never took the time to think, hey, maybe there are some black people who are like this or have lived and experienced this. That's the issue with geniuses. It's hard for them to see the zits when they look in the mirror, and that's where the brilliance lies in the screenplay. The black experience, just like any other experience, is your own experience. You can't speak for anyone else but yourself, and that's what this movie is all about. Stereotypes ruining the human experience. Why are the most successful rappers the ones with face tattoos, out there hairstyles, and have lyrical content that boils them down to surface level humans' desires and wants? Why are all black films that win awards about black struggles and suffering rather than comedies and everyday dramas? Why are the news stories that blow up about blacks are the ones about crime or exploitation? It all comes down to stereotypes, and we can say that about any group of minorities, but it seems to sit a little bit harder with blacks in my opinion. When black people are put under a microscope, there is something interesting to be studied about it to some people. But I'm here to tell you, blacks among with everyone else are just fucking people, and we need to leave it at that. We need more movies like American Fiction to show us that. The acting in this movie is absolutely superb, especially with Wright and Brown. They didn't get Oscar noms for no reason. Jeffrey melts into this role, and when he is acting like a quote-unquote thug, he's just brilliant and funny, but also sad and knows that what people expected of a black man, even though he's very well educated. Sterling K. Brown exhibits the loss of his former life and is struggling to cope with his new one and get it on the tracks. He grows on you more and more as the film moves on, even though he may be a bit much at times. All the supporting players are great here, but the real star of this show is Cord Jefferson. What direction making a film that I would normally find boring and pandering, funny and brilliant. I think he got his message across exactly the way he wanted to. I can't wait to see more from this man. I will say, this isn't a perfect film, the ending in particular. I honestly think we could have ended it far before the film does, and it would have packed an even harder punch. Don't get me wrong, It's kind of funny, but I think it was the weakest part of the film and the writing as a whole. But guys, having said all that, I'm going to give American Fiction an 8.3 out of 10. Guys, thank you so much for watching my American Fiction review. Let me know if there's a film or topic you want me to review. Like and subscribe, I really appreciate it. Follow me on Letterboxd, Ralph Vader. I'll link that below. I got a podcast with my buddy, The Cutting Room Floor. I'll link that below for more movie content. I'll be back hopefully later in the week or next week. And don't forget the popcorn.